What's up, YouTube, and what's up, 2019? How we looking? Coach Max here. Happy New Year. New Year's mean new starts, and New Year's come with New Year's resolutions. One of mine is to get back on that YouTube grind. The last couple of months have been rife with technical issues and some personal ones, so I kind of fell off. But you know what they say, when you fall off the horse, you gotta get back on. Now lately, I've been getting back into watching rebuilds. No real surprise since I'm a MyGM, myleague guy. Most rebuilds have a common goal of turning a lottery team into a contender, or a contender into a dynasty. The easiest way to do this is to take your bad or unwanted contracts and flip them into stars, clear up cap space to make a run at stars in free agency, get assets that you can later use to get stars, or move up in the draft and pick the stars of the future. Now, does that sound obvious? Well, yeah, it is. That's what every general manager in the league is ostensibly trying to do, put their team in a position to either win now or win later. The good organizations succeed at whatever they want to do, and the bad ones just kind of spin around in place like a top until they fall down, someone puts them back up, and see if maybe the next spin is the charm. Now, one thing every rebuild needs is a superstar or two to build around. Now, usually this will be someone already signed to a long-term contract or a high-profile potential free agent that you go out and get. There are usually a staple of surefire, can't miss, blatantly obvious top players that make up the usual targets of any rebuild. And we're not going to pick up any of them. We're going to do things a little differently. Now, as I said before, New Year's mean new starts, and there's more than a few NBA vets who could use a new start. Right now, though, there is one who probably needs to redeem himself more than anybody, and that is Andrew Wiggins. The number one overall pick in 2014 came into the league with high expectations, and in his first season, it definitely looked like he could meet them. He was named Rookie of the Month the first 4 months of the season, was the MVP of the Rising Stars Challenge, and led all rookies in scoring with 16.9 points per game. Good enough to be 5th among small forwards and just outside the top 30 in the entire league. And of course, Rookie of the Year and All-Rookie First Team honors add to that. And then, Karl-Anthony Towns burst onto the scene, Andrew Wiggins began his slide into becoming an afterthought at best and a bust at worst, and his fall from his perceived superstardom has people going, what happened? Quite literally. However, what if the problem is not with Andrew Wiggins, but with the system he's working with? What if we could trade Cat for assets and build the team, or even the organization, around him? Could Andrew Wiggins at least lead the Timberwolves to the playoffs, something that people thought it would take Jimmy Butler to accomplish? Let's find out. Now before we get started though, couple of ground rules for this challenge. First and most obvious, we can't trade Andrew Wiggins. We're building the team around him after all, so he totally deserves that max contract he's got. Second, unless he's injured, Andrew Wiggins has to start and play at least 30 minutes. Again, we're building the team around him, no hiding him on the bench. For this challenge, the goal is to get to at least 48 wins and make the conference semifinals. We're going to go 3 seasons unless Wiggins suffers a major injury. Alright, that's more than enough setup. Let's build this team. Alright, so the first thing I do with rebuilds is rebuild the front office, since everything starts at the top. Now this isn't the most necessary step, but I'm of the mind that every little bit helps, even if you're only going a few seasons. Now as a GM, the main thing I need is a top-notch assistant, so the assistant GM is my first replacement, so that I can hopefully get a little more leverage on contracts and trades later in the year. Head scout and trainer are next in line. This is to help with finding and developing talent. CFO doesn't really matter for my league, but since I'm replacing everyone else, might as well do it now so I don't have to do it later. Now as for the coaches, while they're definitely getting replaced, who they're getting replaced with will depend on the team I build, so we'll save that for later. There we go, I like the look of this front office a little bit better. So going over my changes from left to right, again, CFO, not really necessary, but figured I might as well maximize the advantage. Assistant GM, a little bit better with the contracts and the trading, so I can have a little bit more leverage, as I mentioned before. Head scout, this is the notable change. Cuba Gooding, or Cuba Gooding, however you pronounce it. Get him. Keep him. You're set for life in this department. My trainer was actually a little bit better, but, you know, again, I'm replacing everybody, so I might as well have a little bit of uniformity, so I went with Sean Lee here. Once I replace the coaches, everybody's going to be on 4-year contracts, and then we never have to deal with this screen again, except for maybe during the offseason. Alright, so like I said, we're going to replace the coaches once we actually have a team, so let's build a team. So here we are at the Trade Finder, where we've got quite a bit of ground to cover. Now, in a normal rebuild, you might be looking at that $25 million a year that Andrew Wiggins is getting paid, and you might be thinking, that is way too much for an 80 overall, he is the first to go. But, as I mentioned before, we are building this team around him, so we're going to try and make him earn that $25 million a year. Now, as far as people who are definitely going, I already mentioned that we're going to be trading Karl-Anthony Towns. Another person that's definitely going out is Gorgie Jang. Quite frankly, that $15 million a year that he's making is absolute bonkers. I consider this way worse than what Wiggins is making. I'm sure we can find someone who can do just as good for a lot less, so we're definitely going to be shopping him around. So those are the only two people that are definitely going. As far as other likelies, Jeff Teague with his $19 million a year, we probably don't really need him, especially since Derrick Rose has been balling out lately, so we'll probably see if we can get something good for him. Taj Gibson, we're probably going to be starting Dario Saric since we're going to be going a little bit more offensive since everything is going to be built around Andrew Wiggins, so we might shop him around to see if we can get something, though since he's on a one-year deal, if we don't get anything for him, then that's going to be perfectly fine. I have no problem with him coming off the bench and being a good lockdown guy from that. Jared Bayless, he's making $8 million a year, but he's probably not going to be getting a whole lot of game time except in mop-up duty, so I might see if we can replace him with something a little bit more cost-effective. Same kind of goes for Anthony Tolliver here. As far as moves go, those are pretty much going to be it. This team is actually not that bad. It's just more of a case of there's a lot of young guys on there that haven't really met their potential and a lot of old guys who've kind of petered out. So we want to try and see if we can make this better, see if we can actually get some youth in there, see what we can get. So let's go ahead and start making some moves here. Okay, so we've got some really good offers for Karl-Anthony Towns here. Let's just take a look at him real quick and see what we can get. So the first one is a one I like. Karl-Anthony Towns and Jared Bayless to the Bucks for Chris Middleton and Malcolm Brogdon. It's a pretty good offer. You can run Brogdon at the 1, Wiggins at the 2, Middleton at the 3, and then you would have Derrick Rose and Robert Covington coming off the bench, which is pretty nice. I like it. I don't really like the salaries involved, but it's definitely one I would consider. The next offer would be Karl-Anthony Towns and Taj Gibson for Tobias Harris and Lou Williams. You get a little bit better players off of that. You know, Lou Williams would probably be the starter here for the Timberwolves. Tobias Harris definitely would. And again, it's one I like, but I don't like this as much as the other deal. Now, first round pick and John Collins. I really, really like this deal. John Collins can actually be Karl-Anthony Towns' replacement at center. I may look to see if I can get him for something a little bit less, but this is definitely one I consider. I like John Collins. All right, Karl-Anthony Towns and Robert Covington for Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram. This is definitely a very intriguing deal. Now, I don't really want to give up Robert Covington. I think he's actually pretty much okay. But you got Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, two people with very good upsides. Lonzo Ball probably wouldn't start over Derrick Rose, but he would definitely be at the very least a sixth man. And then Brandon Ingram would be a good partner on the wing for Andrew Wiggins. So, yeah, this is one I definitely like. Karl-Anthony Towns and Taj Gibson to the Mavericks for Dennis Smith Jr. and DeAndre Jordan. This would definitely give us a starting caliber center, and we'd have a point guard, probably someone who comes off the bench. I don't really want to give up Taj Gibson for this, though, so we'll see. Karl-Anthony Towns and Keita Bates-Diop for Jamal Murray and Isaiah Thomas. This is actually one I would not do. As much as I like Jamal Murray, I'm a little bit more confident in my ability to develop players, so I think Keita Bates-Diop is actually going to stay on our roster. You know, Isaiah Thomas is already kind of a declining asset, but it's actually really, really nice from a salary standpoint, so it's one I'd consider based off of that, but I think one of the other offers we had from before is better. Karl-Anthony Towns and Gorgui Dieng for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. Okay, now, if we weren't wanting to hold on to Andrew Wiggins and build this team around him, which part of it is not having Karl-Anthony Towns or some other really big star to, basically the focal point, I'd probably do this deal. It gets rid of one contract I absolutely want to get rid of, and it gives us some really, really good assets in Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. So if it weren't for the challenge, I'd probably do this deal, to be frankly honest with you. And the last offer is Karl-Anthony Towns and Taj Gibson for Pascal Siakam and Serge Ibaka. I don't think I like this one very much, especially with Serge Ibaka's salary. I like Pascal Siakam, but do I really want to take, 2 years of Serge Ibaka on it? I'm pretty sure we could flip Serge Ibaka for something else, but I'm not the biggest fan of doing that, especially to give up Taj Gibson, who is definitely going to stay on our roster if we don't have a really good offer. So I'm going to take some time to think about this and be right back with my decision. Alright, so I kind of went back and forth on this a bit, but in the end, I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on Karl-Anthony Towns and Robert Covington to the Lakers for Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram. Again, I didn't really want to get rid of Robert Covington, but we've got some pretty good assets in Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, and I have faith that they're actually going to turn out to be really, really good. So, absolute worst case scenario, we can end up flipping them for something else we might need later down the line, but I think this is going to work out. So, Lonzo, Brandon, welcome to the Timberwolves. So I know I said that Gorgui Dieng is definitely going, but since we do have Lonzo Ball on the roster, I think that officially makes Jeff Teague our third point guard, and in fact, I'd probably actually have Tyus Jones be the third point guard than him. So we're going to shop him around next and see where we can go. Mostly I'm showing this offer for just how absurd it is. As a straight up Jeff Teague for George Hill. Same overall, same salary, and George Hill is 2 years older. This is one of those trades that I look at and I just think, why? Anyway. Alright, there were a few decent deals for Jeff Teague, but the one I like the best is actually sending Jeff Teague and a 2021 first-round pick to the Atlanta Hawks for John Collins and a 2022 second-round pick, which we're not going to be using since we're only doing about 3 seasons with this rebuild. I was pretty sure I could get John Collins with something. I didn't really want to give up a first-round pick, but I think it's actually worth it for a good asset like John Collins, and he will be our replacement at center, so welcome to the team. Okay, so seeing what we could get for Gorgui Dieng, the answer is not a whole lot. Most of the offers were contracts that were quite frankly just as bad as the Gorgui Dieng contract. So from a cost perspective, and as well as a team building perspective, the best offer we've got here is Gorgui Dieng and his 2022 pick to the Kings for Yogi Ferrell. I think this actually works out for both sides. It gives us a little bit more shooting off the bench, and it gives the King another center to add to their collection. So yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So I'm looking through the offers I can get for Taj Gibson. I'm not really seeing anything I like, but I feel like pointing this one out because it's funny, because the Kings are willing to give us back Gorgui Dieng and Nemanja Bjelica for Taj Gibson and Jared Bayless. Part of the reason I think it's funny is because, hey, I just gave them Gorgui Dieng, and they're already trying to get rid of him, and they're trying to give us a former Timberwolf as well, which is kind of cool. Okay, so that was the main reason I wanted to point it out. I'm not really liking most of the offers I'm getting, so I'm going to go ahead and keep Taj Gibson for now and make some other moves and see what we go from there. So this deal just fell in my lap. Jared Bayless and a 2020 second-round pick for Richaun Holmes. This gets quite a bit of cap off our books and gives us our backup center, or possibly even a starting center at this point. You know, every once in a while 2K just gives you a gift like this, and when it does, you kind of gotta take it. Richaun Holmes, welcome to the Timberwolves. Alright, so looking over my rotation, I noticed that there was a small problem. I kind of needed a backup small forward. Most of the offers I was getting from some of the other pieces I was shopping around were basically for power forwards and centers. So I decided, let me see if I offered up Taj Gibson once more and see if I got somebody who could play small forward, and then see if I can use one of those other pieces to get a power forward or center. Since I have Richaun Holmes who can play both positions, I'm not too worried about whether I can find a power forward or center, but it was getting kind of hard to find a small forward. So out of the offers that I saw for Taj Gibson, this is actually a more decent offer than I was looking at before. It gets rid of a good chunk of salary, and basically all I'm doing is swapping G League guys and getting a shooting guard / small forward. So we're going to go ahead and make this deal here. Alright, we're getting close to the end of trading here. So the last salary that I really didn't want on my books at this point was Anthony Tolliver. So we're going to go ahead and send him to the Jazz for Tony Bradley and a 2021 second-round pick. Tony Bradley I may actually waive and replace with a center or power forward on the free agent market, just so we can get something a little bit better, since Tony's not going to be seeing much game time on our roster with that low of an overall. But we will see what happens here. So let's go ahead and make this deal. Alright, so we made a few more moves off screen, and here is the new and hopefully improved Minnesota Timberwolves roster. On the starting lineup, we have John Collins, Derrick Rose, Brandon Ingram, Andrew Wiggins, and Dario Saric. Coming off the bench, we have Richaun Holmes, Lonzo Ball, Justin Holiday, Joffrey Laverne, who we picked up in trade, and Yogi Ferrell. In the reserves, we have Derrick Jones Jr., Tyus Jones, Keita Bates-Diop, Josh Okogie, Tony Bradley, and our 2 G League guys, CJ Williams and Raleigh Alkins. Now you may also notice that Keita Bates-Diop and Josh Okogie are in the G League. They're going to stay there for the entire season. This way they're going to get plenty of playing time, and their overall is going to shoot up, and then they'll become backups next year. As far as the two-way contract guys, I'll probably bring them up on March the 1st. That way so we have a little bit of extra room on the bench, and they will hopefully actually replace a couple of our more important starters. That way so we can protect them from injury come playoff time. Alright, so here are our rotations. I generally like to run 10-man rotations, so we have our starters here. Rose at the 1, Wiggins and Ingram at the 2 and 3, Sarge at the 4, Collins at the 5. Coming off the bench, we have Richaun Holmes being the first man off to be a backup big, Lonzo Ball as our backup guard, Justin Holiday as a backup wing, and then we have Laverne as an extra big coming off the bench, and Yogi Ferrell as the primary ball handler of the second unit. And then we have Tyus Jones, Tony Bradley, and Derek Jones Jr. as our main injury or foul-out replacements. And that is pretty much kind of the way we go. Now, we've got our rotation set up. We have our team. The last thing we need is to figure out what system we're going to run and what coaches we're going to need for that. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, Tom Thibodeau and Ed Pinckney are out. Michael Stauffer and Trent Peterson are in. So we now have our complete front office staff, and we won't have to deal with this ever again for the rest of this rebuild. So yeah, it's a lot of groundwork, but hey, that's how you build a team, man. Alright everybody, it's been a lot of groundwork and a lot of preparation, but we are finally ready to get this show on the road. Now at the moment, our team chemistry is absolute garbage, considering we traded away over half the roster at this point. So we're probably going to take quite a few L's in the beginning, but I have faith that it's all going to work out. So without further ado, ready, break! Alright, so yep, there's one L, there's two L's, there's three L's. Is it going to be four? Yep, there's four L's, and there's five. Wow, we are doing horrible to begin with. We lost 6 in a row, 7 in a row, 8 in a... Wow. This was not exactly the start I was expecting. So, oh, hey, there we finally got a win. We lost 10 in a row, and then we got a win, and yeah, we got a couple of minutes. Alright, here is our first trade that we're probably not going to even remotely consider. So the All-Star teams have been announced, and I wanted to point out something interesting that I've seen that I've actually never come across in any of the rebuilds I've done, any of the MyGMs I've played, any of the myleagues I've played, any of that. Enes Kanter has made the All-Star team, and that's pretty amazing. I was just reading an article on ESPN earlier today that Enes Kanter is a little bit frustrated with his new role coming off the bench for the Knicks, and one of the quotes he mentioned was that he wanted to go out there, he wanted to play, he wanted to become an all-star, so that's part of why it's frustrating when he's on the bench and they're starting Luke Cornet over him. I mean, really, why would you start Luke Cornet over Enes Kanter? It makes not that much sense to me. You know, Enes Kanter and I kind of agree on the point we want to give the young guys a little bit more experience in game time. But, you know, you want to try and win. You can't be, you know, folding up right now. So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting, especially happening on a day where I've read this article. So, while Enes Kanter's probably not going to make the All-Star game in real life, glad to see he made it here for 2K. Now, as for us, we're not doing too good. We're going into February. We are not going to finish at 500. We are 10-42 1 week before the All-Star game. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know how things have gotten to this point. I'm pretty sure it was just the chemistry being that low. I mean, we're at 60% right now. Usually things have kind of turned themselves around a little bit. I don't know if all the losing has just made it that much harder to get better. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. Let's take a look at the stats real quick, just so we can see exactly how we're coming through. So Andrew Wiggins only averaging about 17 points, so not that much better than where he was before. Derrick Rose is still doing good. Brandon Ingram's kind of fallen off a bit. John Collins is still being John Collins. I kind of like that. Dario Saric, though, has been kind of a disappointment. I mean, I don't know whether he just fell off, whether this is just the wrong system, but look, his numbers are just down all across the board, with the exception of his free throw percentage. I mean, he's actually shooting 94% from the line. That's actually pretty impressive, I must say. But obviously, it's not working. So I think I might be looking to see if I can flip Dario for something at the trade deadline. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, Richaun Holmes is actually doing pretty good. At this rate, I may actually end up starting him over Dario, because honestly, he's bringing a little bit more to the table, it seems. Other than that, though, I mean, things are going pretty much to plan. Lonzo's kind of dropped off, but that's kind of expected since he's coming off the bench instead of being the starter. So well, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what this team can do in year 2, but at this point, it's looking like this season's going to be a wash. So we're going to go ahead and sim to the end of the season, again, unless something else happens, and we'll see where we end up, whether we're going to get that number 1 overall pick or what. So I'll be right back. Alright, so around March, I decided to just forget it and embrace the tank, so we finished 16-66, although a lot of those last games were with Dario Saric, John Collins, and Brandon Ingram all on the bench. So this season, Steph Curry is your MVP, averaging 28 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, steal and a half. Moving on, Luka Doncic is your Rookie of the Year. He's exactly who I'm picking. In 2K this time, he averaged 17 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Nikola Mirotic is 6th Man of the Year, and that's actually pretty cool. I think he actually might be a contender for it this time around, although maybe he's starting more games. I honestly don't know. It's been a while since I've seen a good Pelicans game. Giannis Antetokounmpo is your Defensive Player of the Year. Jason Tatum is your Most Improved. I'm not sure how that came about. I mean, he was averaging 16-6-1. Didn't he do better than this last year? Hang on a second. Okay, so he had an improvement of 2 points, half an offensive board, board and a half. So he hasn't really improved. I'm pretty sure there's lots of other players who have improved more than this, but whatever. Okay. Steve Kerr is your Coach of the Year. The Warriors went 70-12. That's pretty impressive. Okay, moving on. So your All-NBA first team, Stephen Curry, John Wall, Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic made the first team. That's pretty cool. All right. Second team, Damian Lillard, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, and Joel Embiid. And your third team, Russell Westbrook, Kyle Lowry, Paul George, Luka Doncic actually makes the third team in his rookie season, and Anthony Davis. All right, all defensive teams. Your all defensive first team is Victor Oladipo, John Wall, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Draymond Green, and Anthony Davis. Second team, Chris Paul, Drew Holiday, LeBron James actually, Robert Covington, who we traded to the Lakers, and Rudy Gobert. Wow, so somebody we traded away actually ended up on an all-defensive team. And for the all-rookie teams, Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, Colin Sexton, and Trae Young seems about right. And your all-rookie second team, DeAnthony Melton, who I would not have called, Jaren Jackson Jr., Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Wendell Carter Jr., and Mo Bamba. Alright, so yeah, obviously we did not make the playoffs, so let's just simulate them and see who actually does. Warriors win in 5 games. Stephen Curry is your finals MVP, averaging 31 points, 4 rebounds, and 7.5 assists, as well as 2 steals, so that's pretty good. Alright, so we've completed 1 season of this 3-season challenge. Let's go to the off-season and see where we can go. Alright, so we are into Season 2 of this Rebuild Challenge. Only a couple small changes to the starting lineup, but they are big ones. Lonzo Ball is now the starting point guard for the Timberwolves. We still have Wiggins and Ingram at the wings, and Niko Mirotic is now the starting power forward. Dario Saric is going to the bench. John Collins is still at center. Speaking of that bench, we have Dario Saric, JaVale McGee, Josh Okogie, and Keita Bates-Diop. They're going to be really awesome once that chemistry and that morale picks up, and Tyus Jones is actually going to be our backup point guard. Our drafted point guard is going to be in the G League this year, and he's going to be an absolute beast when he comes out of it. And our injury replacements are Joffrey Laverne, Derek Jones Jr., and PJ Dozier. Laverne, I am probably going to see if I can flip him for something at the trade deadline, but he will be on hand in case JaVale McGee can't go for whatever reason. Alright, so we've got that all out of the way. Let's get this show on the road. Alright, so we're at the All-Star Draft once again, and again there are a few interesting selections, namely Nikola Vucevic made it this time around, Bradley Beal made it this time around, Nikola Jokic once again, and a couple of first-timers in Ben Simmons and Julius Randle. Kind of interesting to think that Julius Randle could be an All-Star in 2020, and he's currently sitting on the bench for the Bulls. I wonder what's up with that. As far as our team goes, to find this trade because I don't want to, we're actually doing way better than we were before. We didn't even break the 20-win mark, and at this point in time, we are 30-24. As far as the playoff picture goes, we're currently 7th in the West, which is pretty impressive if I do say so myself, especially since Timberwolves were actually kind of clinging to life back then. So if we keep this pace, I think we're good to at least make the playoffs. We're definitely at least on pace to break that 48-win goal from before. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just completed one goal of this rebuild. We have finished the season at 49-33, which is definitely good enough for us to make the playoffs. I don't remember exactly what seed it was, but we'll come back to that just momentarily. Going over the award winners, we have Kevin Durant winning MVP, making 30.2 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists. Pretty good numbers. I think that's actually some of the best numbers I've seen out of KD in recent memory. So yeah, good on him for that. Noah Barnett, the second-round pick from the Celtics, makes Rookie of the Year, scoring 12.2 points, 8.7 rebounds, 4.7 assists. Pretty good for a center, and hats off to him. Montrezl Harrell actually makes Sixth Man of the Year, and that's actually good. I could have sworn he might have been starting. Oh wait, no, of course he's not starting. Tobias Harris would be starting, but yeah, Montrezl Harrell, that's good. I'm pretty sure people were thinking he was a bust at one point, but, you know, good on him. Anthony Davis wins Defensive Player of the Year. That's good to see. Actually, pretty good numbers there, too. 24.5 points, almost 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 steals, and 2 blocks a game. Pretty nice. And Jonas Valanciunas wins Most Improved, but just how much did he improve, I wonder? Let's take a look and see that. Okay, so he wins Most Improved. He did up his points per game average by 1. Rebounds again by 1. Yes, he averaged no assists. I wonder how many assists he actually got. That guy just does not pass the ball, apparently. So yeah, that's Most Improved, though he didn't really do much. I'm pretty sure Andrew Wiggins actually had more of an improvement than that. I'll actually have to check that once we're done with this. And Steve Kerr wins Coach of the Year. Warriors tapered off a little bit with a 65-17 record. So yeah, awards pretty much according to program. All NBA teams, Russell Westbrook, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Anthony Davis make the first team, and that's a pretty awesome first team if you ask me. Second team, James Harden, Chris Paul, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Nikola Jokic. And on the third team, Damian Lillard, Ben Simmons, Paul George, Julius Randle actually makes it, and DeMarcus Cousins for the Magic. Okay. All defensive teams, Victor Oladipo, Chris Paul, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis, another really good defensive team. Second team, Jimmy Butler, Chris Dunn, Draymond Green, LeBron James, and Joel Embiid. And for the rookies, we have some of the generated players, Noah Barnett, Joshua Robertson, Donnell Landry, Urban Lawson, and Brendan Hughes. I wonder if any of our guys made it. Yes, Josh Okogie and Keita Bates-Diop both make the all-rookie second team. Also, I like that one of the randomly generated names is Cecil Harvey. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, you get exactly why this is amusing to me. Alright, so moving on to the playoffs, we are the 5th seed going up against the Lakers. Now, this is where we actually traded Karl-Anthony Towns to, so this is actually a very fitting matchup for us. So we actually going up against the person who stole Andrew Wiggins' thunder. Let's see what kind... You know, let's just kind of see how this first game goes, and we win it. That's pretty amazing. Let's check the box score just to see how we did. Andrew Wiggins dropped 33 points. That's pretty good. Keita Bates-Diop off the bench with 22 points in 12 minutes, 3 for 6 from 3. That's nice. Karl-Anthony Towns actually did really good though. Dropped 34. LeBron James, pretty close to a triple-double. I mean, 4 assists shy. I don't know how close that is, but you gotta love it. They picked up Sean Livingston. That's interesting. They also got Rondé Hollis-Jefferson from the Nets, Ricky Rubio from the Jazz. They still have Robert Covington, who did not really do much. Josh Hart, Mo Wagner, Spy John McKay. Okay, so... Oh, they ended up with David West. That is David West, right? Oh, that is David West. No. So, obviously, that's 2K running logic for you. David West actually did retire this year. So, interesting that we run into that. But anyway, let's keep going, simulate the next game. We take game 2, so we are just about to we could make the conference semifinals here and pretty much satisfy the goals of the rebuild. Do we get the sweep? Do we make it on a sweep? Oh, nope. Lakers actually do take one game. Karl-Anthony, Robert Covington finally showed up this game, dropping 25 points. LeBron James, 22 points and 10 assists. Yeah, so when they're doing that, it's kind of hard to stop them. But Andrew Wiggins, that's another 30-point game. I wonder what his playoff averages actually are. I'm going to actually have to check that after this game. And do we actually go through? No, the Lakers take game 2. Okay, now I'm getting a little worried. Simulate the game. Are they going to... The Lakers are coming back from a 3-0 hole. This is kind of crazy. You know, I don't know if this is the LeBron James effect or whatnot. Can't really be the LeBron James effect because he hasn't really been the scorer. It's Karl-Anthony Towns actually kind of dominating these games here. Actually, let me see. Yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns double. Yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns is actually carrying a hefty part of the scoring load here. So he's probably trying to make a point to the Timberwolves. Hey, you made a mistake trading us. Wow. Karl-Anthony Towns in Game 4 had 25 points and 20 boards. Good gravy. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and simulate this next game on Simcast. That's kind of what I do for clutch games. And this is actually a pretty clutch game. If we actually do this, we made the conference semifinals, and then we've actually satisfied the goal of this rebuild here. Actually, I'm going to double check my script just real quick just to make sure that that is the case. So bear with me for one moment. I'm going to do that while we Simcast here. Nope, I didn't actually mean to say no. There we go. It says give more minutes to JaVale McGee. You gotta love it here. Okay, so let us simulate this game. We're gonna medium while I check this. Actually, wait, that's too slow. Move it fast. Okay, yeah, so our goal was to make the conference semifinals, but I think honestly we could win the conference semifinals at this point in time. So let's kick it up. It's even. I will say this, we are at least competing with a LeBron James-led team, which is more than I can say for the Raptors before Rosen got traded. Is that too soon? We may actually take this game. Coming to us, and we take the game. We made it past the first round. That was something that Karl-Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler could not do. Granted, I didn't pay attention to how well they did last time, but good to kind of see that. John Collins got 21 points. Brandon Ingram 17 points. John Collins at 11 rebounds. That's also pretty good. So yeah, we've got a pretty good, solid, well-rounded team, and that's doing well for us. So we've actually made the goal of rebound, but let's see how far we can take this. So we are in the rest of this round. We are going up against the second-seeded Spurs in round two here. Simulate the first game. We actually take it. Let's check the box score, see who they actually have. They still have DeRozan. They still have LaMarcus Aldridge. They still have Jakob Poeltl, Davis Bertans. Did they get DeAndre Jordan? They got DeAndre Jordan. Wow, this is a crazy team. Darren Collison apparently. Wait, that is Darren Collison, right? 65 overall. He must be injured or something. I don't know why his overall would be that low. He's out for the season, and yet he's playing games. How did that happen? Probably best not to think about it if we want to be completely honest here. Okay, so we take game 1 of the conference semifinals. We lose game 2. Come back in game 3. Ooh, we take game 4. Could we end up making the conference finals? Nope, the Spurs are not going to make it easy. They're not making anything easy, we'll tell you that much. The Minnesota Timberwolves, are in the Western Conference Finals. Did anybody see that coming, especially with Andrew Wiggins at the helm? I tell you what, probably not. Let us submit the rest of the round. See, okay, so the Warriors do not make it out of the conference semifinals. It's going to be the Timberwolves versus the Thunder. Over on the east side, it's going to be the 76ers versus the Wizards. That's also a pretty good matchup. Who knows how much we can see that. John Wall out for this season. I really feel bad for him with that, but let's see how this goes. So simulate the first game. Do we take the first game? We don't take the first game, so we probably may not make it past here, but I'm honestly glad we made it this far. So looking at who the Thunder have on their roster, they still have Westbrook, Paul George, Jaren Grant, Dennis Schroeder, Kenneth Faried somehow made his way on this roster. And then they ended up getting Brandon Wright. Which Plumlee brother did they get? They got Mason Plumlee from the Denver Nuggets. Still have Andre Roberson. They got J.J. Barea. So pretty good. They ended up with Zach Randolph. I didn't see that coming. So this is a pretty good team. If we can actually take a couple of games from them, I'm not going to complain, especially because we're actually in the conference finals. That's better than the Timberwolves have any right to be. So let's simulate the next game. We actually take game 2. Okay, color me surprised. We take game 3. Could the Minnesota Timberwolves actually end up in the NBA Finals? The Sixers have swept the Wizards. And Thunder take game 2. So either way, this is going to be an interesting thing. It's going to be two teams. It's going to be one team who has not made the finals in a long time, and well, it's not going to be them because holy smoke, the Minnesota Timberwolves are in the NBA Finals against the Philadelphia 76ers. Could we end up capping this rebuild off with a championship? This is more than I can even hope for. If we do somehow win this, I'm totally calling it at this point, but good gravy. I didn't expect to go this far. Full disclosure, in the many times I've actually run through this scenario, not once have I taken the Timberwolves to the finals. I've gone to the conference finals plenty of times. I've gone to the semifinals easily enough, but I've never actually made the finals. So let's see if we can actually go beyond my predictions and win a championship. So we take game 1. I was not expecting that. We take game 2. Okay, is there something wrong with the Sixers lineup? Did somebody get injured when I wasn't looking? They still have Embiid. They still have Simmons. Oh, they got Bobby Portis. That's a really good pickup. Jimmy Butler, Landry Shamet. They picked up Carmelo Anthony. Oh, wow. I mean, to be fair, Carmelo Anthony would be a pretty good pickup for any team if you can actually build around him. Maybe that's another redemption story I can try and do right now. But they still have Fultz. They have Jonah Bolden. They have Taj Gibson. I forget. Did I trade him to the Sixers for anything? For something? Let me back it up. Okay, no. So I traded him to the Bulls, and then he went from the Bulls to the Magic, and then the Magic to the Sixers. So he's been going around a little bit. I mean, really good guy. I mean, I like him as a player. I didn't want to trade him, but I kind of needed another piece for the roster, and so far things are going pretty good here. So up 2-0 on the Sixers. Can we go 3-0? We went 3-0. Did we get the sweep? No, we don't get the sweep, but I don't care. We're so close to a championship that I can taste it. So, okay, I don't even know why I'm doing normal simulate. I need to simcast this so we can actually see what's going on here. Okay, so we're simulating the game. And the Sixers are looking like they're going to blow us out. Okay, we have a good lead. We have a really, really good lead. Are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? Oh my gosh, I am literally stunned. I have taken the Minnesota Timberwolves to the NBA Finals and won a championship, and it only took one season of absolute horrible tanking, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are now champions. Lonzo Ball is your Finals MVP. I mean, he only averaged 11 points and 4.5 rebounds, but he averaged 12 assists. That is pretty impressive. What are the playoff stats? I totally said that I was going to check those, and I totally didn't. I do apologize for that. But let me take a look, see how we did. Andrew Wiggins averaging 22 points in the playoffs, 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, almost a steal. So this is actually pretty good. Actually pretty good for him. He averaged 22.5 points throughout the. Throughout the season. So yeah, I mean, is that a career high? Okay, not quite a career high, but that's pretty good for him. In fact, hang on a second. Not quite a career high in rebounds. I think that's a career high in assists. Yeah, it's a career high in assists. So yeah, Andrew Wiggins is capable of leading a team to the playoffs. Is he capable of leading a bad team to the playoffs? Okay, probably not. But the fact is, Andrew Wiggins was able to make it to the playoffs without Karl-Anthony Towns, without Jimmy Butler. It proves that all it takes is the right team around him and the right system to do it, and you don't have to go out and get some huge star that's going to shake things up. You just get some good pieces, like, get yourself a Brandon Ingram, get yourself a Nikola Mirotic, get yourself a John Collins, get yourself a Lonzo Ball, Finals MVP. So that is going to go ahead and do it. We've done exactly what we came to do, so let's go ahead and bring it in at this point. If you made it from start to finish, you are a true player, and I can't thank you enough. And I've got more of these in the works, so hit that like button if you thought this was cool, and comment down below if you've got another star in mind who could use some redemption. And of course, if you really think this video was cool, then hitting that subscribe button would flat out rule. Until next time, take care, y'all.